Bug again, and the project is to remove the stock Type 1 1600 style exhaust and replace it with a header and a stinger. Anyway, let's go ahead and check out a few things and we'll get started. I have already taken the tin work out of this area right here that normally covers everything you see here. It seals up the engine bay. Kind of sits between these, see these two seals in here? They're kind of a lip. Sits between here, seals off onto this side and around this edge and forward here. I've taken that off. I've taken the little sealing plates off around the preheat tubes, one on this side and one on this side. So that'll allow you access to removal of the stock exhaust. A couple days ahead of time I sprayed some PB Blaster on these nuts here, the preheat nuts here on the preheat flanges on this side, on this connection here, preheat connection here, and then underneath the car, I'll go ahead and slide under just a second. Okay, looking from underneath the car, also on the connection here between the heater box and the stock muffler. So hopefully, and also the connection on the other side, hopefully after doing this, what that does is that gives a chance for that penetrating oil to break into rust and grime and loosen up, so that when you go to zip the nuts off and change the exhaust, you can see actually, by the way, I'm going to interrupt myself. These are some indications here of exhaust leaks. See the black soot? I'm going to get a little bit closer up view here. Anyway, exhaust leaks here under the muffler. Anyway, so spraying that penetrating oil, PB Blaster WD-40, a mix of ATF and which is automatic transmission fluid, and used motor oil, which is nasty. I prefer not to use that, but ATF is not a bad penetrating oil. Anyway, that'll allow the nuts to break free and make your job easier. All right, at this stage, you should have the following parts in your hand. If you have an engine like me, it's going to be very similar across the board here. So we've got our clamps that came off of the connection between the heater boxes and the muffler. You've got the 4 hex bolts that came off your connection between your intake preheat flange and your exhaust setup, and you should also have 4 hex nuts that came off of the connection between exhaust flanges on the muffler and the exhaust studs that go straight into the cylinder heads. So at this stage you should be able to take those parts, set them aside gently, and grab the tailpipes on the muffler and pull kind of out and down. You'll see, can't see it, but that's what I'm doing off screen here. So I'm grabbing and pulling, and see how the exhaust just drops right out from under the car. So this is what you're left with. There's the hole in the connection on your left side heater box. Same thing, but on the right side, you have the preheat flange and the connection, muffler connection at the cylinder head, back side, or front side if you will, non-flywheel side, and this side as well. So what I'm going to do at this stage is I'm going to go ahead and pull these old gaskets off, because this stuff is, this is one-time use only. These should not be used more than once. Just go ahead and toss them. Make sure you get the gasket, if you're going to keep your intake, make sure you get the gasket off the underside of this preheat flange, as well as this side here. You don't want to double up gaskets in that state and cause a problem, so that would be a good suggestion. Usually these just pop off with a little encouragement from a screwdriver, and it's a little different one-handed here trying to pry these off, but there we go. So go ahead and take both sides off. Make sure that's good and removed. And now we're going to go ahead and clean these exhaust studs off with like a Dremel rotary tool. I'll show you that next. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little Dremel with a little wire brush, rotary brush, and also just a handheld wire brush. I'm going to clean up the studs and get them in better shape before we begin installing the new exhaust. I finished cleaning up these studs and the ports where exhaust mounts, and you'll see things are quite a bit cleaner. I can actually zoom in pretty good. There's a little bit of corrosion and rust on the studs, but not enough to make me feel uncomfortable reusing them. So I also take a wire brush, and I like to go ahead and I like to clean up this area too with the bristle brush where the gasket will sit, and a little bit on the underside of these preheat flanges just to be sure. And I'll go ahead and show you. We'll kind of try to stay steady and go over on the other side and see that we've done the same thing to this side, give it a similar treatment. Clean up the studs, clean up the flanges, also clean up the underside of this preheat flange, although you can't see it really that well in this shot. So now we're just going to continue with assembly.